and welcome to the graduation ceremony for Millard North High School's class of 1994. My name is Aaron McCain, and through some twist of fate, I'll be your first speaker this evening. My first order of business will be to justify the following introduction to my speech. With an overwhelmingly large class of over 500 conflicting personalities and identities, I'm afraid I don't have any amusing anecdotes that wouldn't leave some group feeling alienated. I'm not going to define the longest word in the dictionary for you, and I'm certainly not going to fill your minds with stories about how your memories will never die or the power of dreams. If you want reality sugar-coated into tiny digestible pieces, you'll simply have to listen to something else for the next few minutes. However, I was given this job because the majority of my senior class, who usually go unrecognized because they were not born with pom-poms or footballs in their hands, wanted me to share my point of view with our friends and family, and I intend to state what I perceive as the truth and then resume my role as a cap and gown amongst the masses. As I stand here before you all, my hypocrisy blowing in the wind, I find myself feeling as transparent as the rules and promises we've swallowed throughout the years. For 9 months, I have written and rewritten my speech, preparing to bombard you all with rants and raves about how the educational system has failed us. But now I realize that would make me nothing more than a hairy sellout. I'm sorry to break it to all you pseudo-anarchists out there, but to sit back and moronically chant that school, the government, or life has betrayed you, rather than actually taking action to correct that, is to simply accept your own ignorance and defeat. To idly sit back and allow the system to trample you down is not because you feel is corrupt, is not glamorous, my friends, but an apathetic cop-out. We need to finally expose the stupidity of thinking it's cool to be stupid. Students of the world, unite! You have nothing to lose but your chains. This is a rallying cry that needs to be heard through the halls of Millard North High School and every other institution of learning throughout this nation. Admittedly, there is a faction of young people for which the current way is serving them fine, and deep in my heart I long for their happiness. But I must believe I'm not the only one who thinks things are going wrong. Why does my generation continue to play the game? It saddens me to watch my friends waste away the greatest years of their lives as slaves to unintangible and unexplainable ideals the society passed on to them with a smile. Parents, if you love your children, have them live and love every moment as if it were their last. Grasp onto life with both hands and never let go. Have them seize the day, or whatever cliche it is that they understand, but do not allow them to put their faith into materialistic objects that will only disappoint them in the end. Why does my generation pledge allegiance to ACT scores and grade point averages rather than friendship and actually living out your one and only existence? Why have we turned colleges into capitalistic status symbols to coordinate with our designer genes and convinced ourselves that one is so much more important than another, it justifies putting our families through financial turmoil? Why do we confuse the inane little numeric scribbles teachers put next to our names each quarter with intelligence? Friends, conformity killed the dinosaurs, and we're going to end up the Jurassic Generation X if we don't soon find a cure for our apathy. Although I must admit, many times in the last 4 years, I felt as though it would have just been easier to sit back, accept mediocrity, and just try to get by. Just shut up and play the game, Aaron, you've always told me. And hey, maybe that's not such a bad idea after all. For me to stand up here and pass judgment as to which route in life is justified and which is not would simply be for me to breathe the conformity that I loathe so much, to allow my hypocrisy to blow in the wind. I only ask that each of you keeps in mind the inevitable slant that we do put on our memories. We tend to only hear and remember the success stories in life. Football games won, cute little high school lovers, star athletes. But there is always that other side of the coin that gets swept under the carpet. We tend to forget about the intolerance, the bigotry, the hatred, the guy who was tortured for looking a bit different than everyone else, the person who couldn't get a date for the prom, my friends who poured their hearts and souls into their academics only to be disappointed in the end, lonely people deemed social outcasts for no apparent reason, simply longing for someone to talk to each day. Isn't it strange, my friends, that in our senior video, only about 50 students were shown for 35 minutes, while 450 of you were left out? Are you all less worthy than cheerleaders, drill team members, and football players? Are your musical tastes and preferences unimportant because an individual decided that her opinion was the correct one for you? Apparently so, because you are all perfectly content to be swept under the carpet and forgotten. You cannot blame the athletes for the talents, my friends, but rather yourselves for allowing the situation to occur. It sickens me that 450 kids have allowed themselves to become second-class citizens, content to empower and pledge popularity to a small handful of students rather than growing the backbone to become their own people. When 10% of the population decides what the other 90% watches, listens to, wears, and deems important, it's called a tyranny, ladies and gentlemen, and that's exactly what this is. Why does the majority of a senior class swallow their pride and allow their agendas and opinions to be drowned out by a handful of students? From where I sit, anyone coming up here to tell you about unity, camaraderie, or how we're all Mustangs, simply put, is blind. I don't recall a warm and fuzzy nuclear family, but rather a group of confused and scared kids thrown together inside a great granite building. A group of kids forced to find their identities in an environment where individuality made you the immediate target of ridicule. Class of 1994, I implore you to examine the world around you and make decisions for yourself as to whether you believe it is working or not. Do not mindlessly accept mine or anyone else's philosophy, but rather adopt your own. Refuse to succumb or rebel against the norms of our society simply because you feel you should, but rather decide for yourself whether or not to defy the laws of tradition. For your own sake as well as mine, take back control of your lives and forge your own destinies. The greatest threat to our generation is apathy, ladies and gentlemen, and sheepish compliance with the game around us will only result in our eventual destruction. My friends, our time has finally come, and I pray each of you will burst out of our suburban incubators and actually make a difference in the world around us. In a life as short as ours, looking back can prove to be the most hazardous thing to your health, and you must make every action a heartfelt reflection of your values and ideas. And now, my friends, I have nearly reached the conclusion of my speech, and I have reached a personal crossroads for myself. I'm deeply puzzled, my friends and family, as to why it's okay to tell you to die for your country, die for oil in a foreign land, or die for democracy, but it's not okay for me to tell you to die for yourself, which is to say, to actually live for yourself. The hypocrisies of the world continue to blow in my face. I hope you all realize them as well as I do. You see, comrades, Stub-a-Dub will never die, and if to survive every day in this world you truly need, want, and love your fun, die for it.